Welcome to another episode of Connect the Dots. Today, I'm joined by Matt Owens. Matt, welcome to the show.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Matt, why don't you start by giving us a bit of a synopsis about you, your business, and how you're handling things at On Advertising?
Well, things are really exciting around here. I'm a second generation ad agency owner. This is actually my sixth agency that I've owned. So I built
Wow.
agencies, sold agencies, bought agencies, all sorts of craziness. Um, Now I'm kind of in the twilight of my career. This is probably my last stop. I'm a minority owner here. I'm 1/25th of the agency. But I grew up being a second generation agency owner. I grew up around advertising and the agency life. So people ask me about Mad Men. I was around the industry, even though I was a child in that era, and it was very much as predicted or portrayed. Um, and we're just in an exciting time in advertising with artificial intelligence coming in. It's the most powerful tool I've ever seen in so many ways. It touches everything, and we, like all other agencies, we are just, you know, trying to figure out how we wrap our arms around it and we put it to best use and not get in trouble. But it
I
it is
like it.
changing the world, and we're in a golden age in my industry. It's just a lot of fun.
How has it changed the game in the last, say, 2 years?
Well, I was taught early on in my career, and said my old man told me, he says, "Matt, if you don't know, don't go." And what he really meant was, if you don't really have a deep understanding of what's going on, don't move forward with the creative process. So I've always said great creativity begins with profound understanding. Well, AI is a super powerful tool to have you quickly gain that profound understanding of what is going on in the marketplace. What are the competitors doing? What differentiates your client from everybody else? What are consumers looking for and who are they? And down to very specific terms, you can use AI just to crunch all that data and give you the answers. So we can gain that profound understanding much quicker than we used to. And that leads to far better creative output. Our strategies are on target and exciting and groundbreaking. And then the creative executions on the other side is we can do world-class production using AI at a tenth of the cost it used to run us.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are railing against AI and what it's bringing. We're embracing it. We know it's a scary world out there, and it's all about, like, do we really have rights to it? Can we actually own it? But I don't get wrapped up in the minutia. I'm trying to move the market and move the marketplace. And you give me a tool that will do that, I'll let all the legalese fall out in the years to come, and I'll just try not to stub my toe too hard as we jump in.
Absolutely. What has allowed On Advertising to remain so successful in such a competitive industry?
We run very differently than a traditional agency. We want to be the aggressors. Our spirit is to not wait for RFPs. We want to go select our clients instead of having clients select us. So that makes us very different in a very competitive marketplace. Everybody else has a tendency to look at the market and wait for it to come to them. And our strategy is to go to the market and pick who we want to work with and try and win
Yeah.
their business. And so it just sets us apart. It's a different philosophical approach
Yeah.
than others that I'm used to seeing, and it differentiates us in a lot of ways.
What separates great brands from, let's say, average brands, do you think, Matt?
Well, that's a great question. When social media came in, my ex-partner and I, we used to talk that brands needed to become publishers. They needed to produce content and have a point of view. And as streaming video came in, we said, wow, they're almost now they need to be like a television network. They need to be able to produce video at scale and build communities. And in the modern AI generated world, I think a brand has to almost be a movement. It's
Yeah.
a social movement. And you see the great brands in the world really are. They know who should be aligned with the brand. They behave in ways that distill those people into a community. And the products and services that they provide are, I wouldn't say ancillary, but I would say complementary to the movement. So,
Yeah.
it's not just about, buy you know, market share and generating revenue. A great brand has to be up to something more than just that.
Yeah, I think that's a great insight. And why do so many companies struggle to communicate what I guess makes them unique in their value proposition?
I think the bigger an organization gets, the harder it is to be human. Unless you have a real strong leader at the top. Uh, I I always say, like the big consultancies, they grind the humanness out of companies to maximize profits.
Yeah,
And organizations like mine, we ram the humanness back in and trying to drive greater share, not just margin.
yeah,
So
that's
it's
it.
if they're gonna look at they're gonna drive towards greater market share, you have to put humanness into your company to do it. Because people like to buy from people, and um, companies at the end of the day are full of people, and you have to have that human notion instilled within the brand itself.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I think that's a great piece of insight there. You've touched on marketing strategy. What we don't want you to give away your secrets, but what does an effective modern marketing strategy look like?
Wow. Um, that's a good one. So, where strategy is going and where I think the marketplace is going and what the new technologies are gonna drive us to is I was brought up in an era of we bought media in tonnage, I call it. It's like how many millions of impressions can we buy? And
Okay.
that led to, yes, you could reach a lot of people, but there's just enormous waste. I mean,
Yeah.
how many opportunities we've wasted with consumers when we're talking to someone that was never going to be in the market for our client's product or service is
Mhm.
just breathtaking. With targeting and the digital age coming in, my hope and dream is that the number of impressions that consumers are bombarded with will slowly begin to fall, because and the communication will become more and more meaningful to their lives, because we can
Wow.
use predictive analytics to determine when people are most likely to make a decision around a product purchase or a service purchase. We can figure out what that cadence is. We can determine who should be with the brand and who shouldn't be with the brand, and leave the people that shouldn't be with the brand out,
Yeah.
and just go after the people that should. So the micro targeting and really dynamic communications targeting very specific groups of people, very small buckets of people, is where we're going to go. So we're not going to have a primary and a secondary, tertiary audience. We're going to have hundreds of audiences, and we're going to speak to those audiences differently, but within the character of the brand itself.
Yeah. What marketing channels do you believe are delivering the best return of investment right now?
Well, sadly, SEM is still like the best return on investment. The search
Right.
engines still dominate, although it's certainly not the most creative or interesting place to be. It's kind of like it's kind of like being in the yellow pages of old. You better be really good in the yellow pages if you were going to be successful, regardless of
Yeah.
your company. And then almost everything else was secondary to that. But I don't think that will hold. I think programmatic digital in across all mediums is really the wave of the future. Is being able to know who we're going to speak to and just buy impressions in front of those people.
Yeah. It's a great insight. Where can our audience find you, Matt, and your business, please?
Oh, I can be found at our website at onadvertising.com. Or if people wanted to send me an email and reach out, they can always reach me at mowens at onadvertising.com. I'm a pretty easy guy to get in touch with. I might be a little
Mhm.
crazy and have take me a while to get back to you, but I try and answer everybody's outreach in one way or another.
Yeah, a good crazy. Nobody wants boring. We've touched on AI earlier in the podcast, but I just want you to give us an insight. How is, AI changing the advertising industry? Let's talk about AI.
Well, it is gonna completely upset the apple cart. Um, the tools are much more powerful. I know that, a lot of people, a lot of clients wanna talk to us about, well, how much cost savings am I gonna get out of AI? How much faster is it gonna make you?
Yeah,
And I'm not finding that it's actually making us faster, and maybe that will come later, but right now, we're putting the same amount of time in, but the quality of the work that's coming out of the agency is so much better.
yeah,
And I know, from my decades of experience, you go to the market with some earth-shattering creative, you're gonna move the marketplace. And if
sure.
you're strategically solid in that execution, it's gonna work. It's gonna work every time, and it's gonna work better than you could dream. So, we're seeing smaller budgets go further. We're seeing the work have greater impact, and we're seeing the needle move more rapidly for our clients. Because at the end of the day, they're not paying us for cost savings. They're paying us to grow market share and to attract new
Yeah.
customers to them. And they're going to be able to get that more effectively and more efficiently as we move forward.
Will AI make creativity more important or less important?
Absolutely. I see there are like little agencies popping up that are using 100% AI, trying to use AI to generate creativity. The challenge is it doesn't have that spark. And I've read a lot of science around where creative comes from in the brain, and neuroscientists cannot figure out where it comes from. They think it
Really?
almost is an external source, like it is, to not be corny, but it's like literally inspiration is a gift from God. And I don't think AI is ever going to get us there.
Yeah.
So, but AI is going to be a tool to help us express that and to do it far more efficiently and to do it with greater wisdom and grace. So it's gonna make everything better, but it's gonna be a very scary path to get there. We're in the wild west of, marketing once again, as all the gloves are off, and I see an opportunity for little players like my agency to go up against the big players because the playing field has been completely leveled.
Yeah, it has. That's something I hear a lot, especially from leaders like yourself. Uh, can you share with us a campaign or a success story that exceeded all expectations?
Yeah, we recently, very small budget, total, ad budget of $250,000, and it was for the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. So the county that encompasses Phoenix, Arizona, the county attorney wanted to do a campaign around human trafficking, which is a real problem in the southwestern United States. With,
Uh-huh.
um, I mean, literally tens of thousands of minors without accompaniment have been let loose in the United States undocumented. And what are these children being brought into? Well, they're being brought into slavery.
Yeah.
So we did a couple television commercials, and we also use them in digital and over the top television, explaining how to spot it. Because it's one thing to say, "Hey, human trafficking is a problem. When you see it, let us know." I didn't know what it was, so we had to go back to the attorney's office and the sheriff's office and say, how do consumers spot it? And
Yeah.
we had 2 examples of, and the voiceover went over exactly how to spot what, was going on. Very powerful, very emotional commercials. One said, it was, the tagline was, "Are they married or is this merchandise?" Just kinda hitting people hard, and it's a young woman. One is a young
Yeah.
woman in a department store, and she's with an older man, and he's going through the racks looking for clothes to put on her. And they said this is a common, easy place to spot it is because often they're being sold into prostitution, and the man that's controlling them is going to try and dress them appropriately to attract the right, business people for them, get the
Wow.
Johns in the door. So, like, scary stuff, kinda creepy, but, without much budget, it's just been overwhelmingly successful. Their
Nice.
social media has blown up like 5,000%. Uh, and people are now calling them, telling them where they're seeing it, and the police are responding.
Yeah, and I
So
think not
they're
only have
they're
you
saving these children. It's like crazy.
yeah, I was gonna say not only have you done a great job for your client, but more importantly, you've raised amazing awareness. You know, you've probably potentially saved a lot of lives, and it's probably more than just a commercial. So that's a great insight. And finally, for our we have a lot of C-suite, a lot of founders, but for our younger professionals who are listening, you're obviously a serial entrepreneur. Do you have any advice for our younger audience who are maybe thinking about getting into AI or the marketing or the digital space? Maybe taking that next step in their career.
Well, okay, well, I would say AI is a tool, and it's a very powerful tool, but it's not a craft. You know, I've found success leading agencies because I teach people how to do their jobs. I teach them how to think. I teach them how to approach it. I teach them what they need to know before they go into action. Um, a young person that wants to use AI to get ahead, you need to learn a craft. You need
Yeah.
to you need to get the basics of what it is I'm gonna try and do before you just go pick up tools and start using it. Once you really know the craft, well, now AI is a great accelerator and a leveler in the marketplace. But if you don't have the backstop of knowledge and wisdom about around what you are actually gonna do, it's not gonna matter that much. You're just gonna be flailing out there, and you're gonna waste a lot of time and a lot of effort without a lot of result.
Yeah, that's a great insight. Thank you so much, Matt. I've really enjoyed that conversation.